The rise of anti-intellectualism. Holy bro, I'm saying a bunch of buzzwords. But real question here though, when did we stop reading? Like actually, when was the last time you read a book? Not because you're drinking matcha and want to be performative, or because you had to read Lord of the Rings for an English assignment in high school, but simply because you wanted to read. Besides like a small group of select individuals, I bet the majority of people don't know what it's like to want to get lost in a world or learn something brand new about the universe or look at how history repeats itself. Have you even taken the time to fact check your world beliefs? These vast worlds of fiction and non-fiction, these lands of creativity, these oceans of human ingenuity and brilliance all seem to be vacant, unexplored, mainly ignored. So that brings me to a question. Why are we pushing away staples of information? When did we start running from intelligence and embracing ignorance? Boorish. My brother walked into my room the other day and we were chatting it up, like usual brothers do, when he saw 3 books I just recently finished. The Red Rising trilogy. Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star. Great books, by the way. You guys should definitely go check them out. For my sci-fi heads, if you haven't already, go get you a copy. You'll definitely love it. He picked up one of the books and stared at it for a bit. Red Rising? Yeah, what about it? You read books? And he asked in a way that made the idea of someone actually reading seem almost impossible to him. I stared at him as if he was asking me what color the sky was. Like, bro, what are you talking about? He later said that books were boring and why would I read a book, etc, etc, etc. Now, besides the fact that my brother was trolling with me, he read and watched like all of One Piece. He has the patience for a lot and I love One Piece just like any of my fellow brethren, but holy, I would never do that. Pace of a snail, plot of a genius. I don't know how you get the two mixed up. His thinking pattern about books, however, something historically used for gaining information or understanding or a source of creativity, is exactly where I believe the problem begins. It's how we think about books, information, intelligence, that it is all boring, sublime stuff that isn't important right now, that won't make the monkey in your head dance for a few more seconds. School's a drag, articles are too long, writing is monotonous, and books will never keep my interest unless they have pictures in them. But what makes all that boring in the first place? We have been coaxed, duped, misconstrued, manipulated, whatever big word I could think of next, to be honest, into believing that if something doesn't happen every 5 seconds, then we have to search for something that does. Hits after hits after hit after hit. Ring, 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 more dopamine, please. We've all turned into our worst fear. iPad babies. Side note, dopamine, also known as the feel-good hormone, is a chemical in our brain that works within the reward center. It basically gives us good feelings and motivation when we are doing something we're supposed to. Now this is broad for like human psychology. What you might think is what you're supposed to be doing, like getting up and working out, might be different for your brain. Your brain's main job is to keep you alive, and the more comfortable you are, the more likely you're going to be alive. So keep that in mind for what I'm going to be speaking about in the future. Eating food is dopamine. Learning, dopamine. Basic movement, dopamine. Literally almost anything you could think of comes with the release of dopamine. Scrolling. Primarily, this thinking process stems from entertainment and how it is now produced. If you look at the timeline of our media and entertainment, it starts from the theater, then the big screen, movies and films, then the TV, and then your phone. 90% of the time, your day-to-day entertainment is right inside your pocket. You don't have to go to the theaters to watch a movie, or a Blockbuster to buy the show you've been wanting to watch, or an arcade to play video games. All you have to do is open your phone and click the app that fits you best. Time out, I'm gonna go get my Wingstop real quick. See, the perfect example of what I'm talking about. I didn't even have to make food or go out to get it. I ordered someone to drop it off to me. But that's really a life or death move. I'm ordering it at like 12 in the morning right now. I gave him $1.50. That he could have spit in my water, he could have done anything. Matter of fact, I dumped out that water before I came back into the room. I'm taking no chances. You never know. This is also not a sponsorship, by the way, at all. I'm too broke for that. I got like 2 videos. Like, come on. I remember having cable boxes and DVDs, CDs of movies scattered around the place, and now I'm mainly opening up YouTube or other websites. If you know, you know. I'm not talking about porn. Get your mind out the gutter. What is wrong with you, brother? But we weren't the only ones to notice this shift. The companies did too. People no longer cared to spend their money on theater, plays, ballet performances, etc., or to have to go out whenever they wanted to watch something that wasn't on Channel 5. So here comes YouTube, Twitch, Netflix, the million other subscription platforms, and the rise of short form content. We see early iterations of this with things like Vine or even Musical.ly. Oh my gosh, wow, that I just got hit with a black flash of memories, my brother. Like, I have not heard those names in so long. See, the one thing these big companies are, besides evil and exploitative, is smart. Really smart. They understand the human psyche and how to manipulate it to make sure you don't leave their websites. Because the longer you're on, the more profits they gain. Now, we see a rush of implementation for shorter form content. Instagram creates Reels, YouTube forms Shorts, and even Reddit and Twitter have their own scrolling variation. And of course, TikTok's success was the benchmark for everything. Also, isn't it funny how there was this whole fuss about TikTok stealing your data and how evil they are when every other American-based company is doing the same thing they are? It's almost like they don't care that the people are being taken advantage of, but rather who's able to hold the chains. In fact, TikTok in the US is now managed by Oracle, who, you know what, I'll save that for another video. There's no war in Ba Sing Se. Yes, my government is truly divine. But where was I? Short form content tricks your reward system into releasing bits of dopamine, and with the content changing every few seconds, a new hit of dopamine is released at an alarming rate, and morphs how our reward system works, now requiring us to seek absurd amounts of pleasure for the minimum amount of gain. A pleasure that can only naturally be derived from, you guessed it, mindlessly scrolling. But also pornographic material, which is also like another problem for another day. Since dopamine is our brain's motivator, we end up demotivated to do anything else. This inhibits us from getting up and wanting to do anything that can provide us with a more worthwhile experience. It essentially lures your brain into continuously scrolling. Now, dopamine isn't the problem. You need it, and your body will continuously release it to push you to even open your eyes in the morning. Look at it like this. Whenever you're taking time to create something, or spending time with a loved one, or coming up with an idea for something you have passion for, that is good dopamine. If it derives from quick hit sources like pornography or scrolling, then it is bad dopamine. And I hate to put simplistic labels on things, but if it helps, you know? The difference between them is the after effect. Healthy sources give you a memory, a product you enjoy, your own creation, and or feelings that your time was well spent. Bad sources might give you a couple laughs and some nut in your belly button, but you'll never be truly satisfied with how you spent your time. As I said, dopamine was never the problem, but the way it is utilized in our media, it eerily takes the shape of a weapon of control. Why would our government, our benevolent, loving, supportive, brilliant government, allow and support the use of these tactics while knowing the dangers? They wouldn't do that, would they? Well, money is the easiest answer. But who does our lack of attention spans and hedonistic mindsets help the most? Our family, friends, communities? No, it's the people who desire to stay in power. Factory, you are designed to be productive. You are designed to be a worker. You are not designed to think. And I say designed because your life is manufactured. You're born, you go to school for 8 hours for the next decade and some change, where you are taught not essential life skills, but how to wake up on someone else's time, to do what you're supposed to on someone else's time, and leave on someone else's time. Besides social interaction and good or bad memories, I should get more from this gap of time that's supposed to help me for the remainder of my life. And I'm not saying school is pointless. I have a ton of great memories, and I've learned from my time during my exploration of youth, of course, but the information I needed to grow was not found in my English class or math class. It was when I went out of my way to want to improve and to want to learn about me. If I hadn't found that right video when I was scrolling on YouTube at 12 or 13, would I have even been interested in the topics of psychology, proper communication, self-love, and growth? Would I have even been making this video today? See, simple and important information shouldn't have to be looked for or come across you by chance. Instead of 4 years of math, why isn't it mandated that we have classes solely about our emotions and how to properly express and manage them? That would have definitely helped a couple of y'all. Stand up, my brother and sister. Let that person go. They are not doing you no justice. And then you jump straight to adulthood, but with the mind of a child still. Going to school some more for some, and eventually working until you have 10 years left to live. Now this is where the true problem lies. The people in power don't want you to be intelligent and to have the ability to form your own opinion. They don't want a thinker. They push platforms that dim your intelligence and force onto you these shitty jobs with terrible wages that you have to rely on just to survive. They want to produce more people who turn a blind eye, who are satisfied with going to work for 8 hours and coming home to watch reels, who blame the single mother of 3 for bad choices who just need some support, and praise the billionaire for working so hard. Learning is a skill that takes time, and in an era where pleasure is expected at every moment, when do we learn how to learn? For the individual, this system is not in your favor. It doesn't care about your growth or your input. Your intellect is muted, your color grayed out, your personality null. Bro, I am so good at this writing shit. It's not Shakespeare anymore. It's just me. It's just me, man. Truth. So now intelligence is villainized. Feelings are truth. Bigoted thoughts are seen as fact. And information is swept under the rug. We can see this in politics, in media. Damn, just open Twitter and you can see what I'm talking about. If you can't open a history book and see how racism is bad, then bro, what the hell is going on in your life? But that is the goal. Confusion, anger, bigotry, anything that causes infighting, that makes us divide and separate from each other. Intelligence unites, ego and ignorance divide. Men versus women, black versus white, right versus left, blood against crip, ass versus tits. Oh my god. Hold up for a second, I almost caught a floater. Y'all heard that? Oh my gosh. And let's be honest, my fellow gentlemen and gentlewomen, the thighs and face are where it's at. Come on now, I'm speaking the truth. If any one of these groups had the intelligence beforehand and our proper knowledge to find the information about whatever dispute they're talking about, 90% of the time there would have been no problem in the first place. For example, the men versus women debate. Men believe a woman should be this and women believe a man should be that, and both get mad when the other steps out of those guidelines. But those beliefs stem from a patriarchal system where an old white nigga is in control at the top of the world. If you remember that you're a person at the end of the day, and the goal should be focused on being a good individual, not this idea of a man or a woman, because you already are that. Black versus white. No one realizes that the other is a human being just like they are, and focuses on stereotypes and how the media portrays the other, all while forgetting the 400+ year history of a mainly white government targeting and exploiting a group of people. 400 years usually makes a mark. Right versus left. You're focused on who lines up with Republican or Democratic values and not the person who actually wants better for the people. If you did, then there wouldn't be a two-party system and you wouldn't have voted for you know who. And every politician would probably just be wiped off the board. Actually, this whole last election is an example of idiocy in our system and culture. How do we see the largest and brightest red flags and still head their direction? But bruh, you see my point. You could break down any of these opposing sides and find a flaw that makes the whole argument essentially pointless and not helpful to either. If helpful and proper information was pushed instead of the hate speech we now see, the groups dissolve, people unite, and exploitation is fought against, which isn't the goal of the capitalist machine. Read more books, source proof, and take the time to learn. Your choice is your power. Intelligence expands your power to choose. Don't let them take that away too. For real though, everybody should go read a book, bro. Y'all should just lock in. Let's stop hating each other. Peace, love, harmony. Yeah, subscribe too. How about that? Subscribe too. What about that? Show a brother some love. Please with a cherry on top. How about that? And the ice cream sundae. Okay, the video's over. Goodbye.